As a homage to the place that a book creates, and as a token of the place that Mr. Baraka has here at Harvard, we've pulled from the Houghton collection his personal copy of Native Son that he had signed, he told us, when he was a teenager. So people are welcome. I'll show it to people after the reading. We are incredibly honored to have Amiri Baraka and Cathy Park Hong here tonight to inaugurate this year's Poet's Voice reading series. This fall, we will be trying something different and inviting other voices to introduce our events so that it's not all Harvard all the time. This evening, we are immensely indebted to Michael Millner and Henry Farini for making it possible to bring Amiri Baraka. So we thought it would be fitting to invite Michael, also known as Professor Millner of UMass Lowell, where he teaches English and American Studies, to say a few words about our esteemed readers. Please welcome Michael Millner.
It's a great honor to introduce both of our poets tonight. 2013 marks the 50th anniversary of the publication of one of the most important and revealing works ever written about American music. That's Amiri Baraka's Blues People. In that work, Baraka implicitly asks, how does one write an African-American history that has so complexly been a combination of African cultures, the relationships of those cultures, the retentions of those cultures in America, and the weight of the American, quote, step culture produced in America upon that African-American culture. His answer was that one writes such a history through blues and through jazz with its ellipses and directions and withholdings in its blue notes and ever-changing paraphrases. Blues and jazz articulate that history. In Blues People, in much of his critical work about music and other subjects, Baraka writes about the complexities of this historical consciousness straight on. He is one of the most wonderfully straight on percussive style. He has one of the most wonderfully straight on percussive styles and sensibilities I know of any critic. Perhaps we should think of this body of criticism as the steady beat behind the poetry, which in contrast to his criticism often inhabits the realm of history through the indirection of the blue note. Cathy Park Hong asks us to consider a question that is similar to Baraka's. She implicitly asked, how does one write the history and about the historical consciousness of the disjunctions and violences of globalization and empire? She addresses this question in original and imaginative ways, creating speakers who speak in new languages and inhabit new futuristic landscapes, which are disorienting as they are all-inspiring amalgamations of the present, the past, and the future. Many lines of her poetry are deeply influenced by popular folk musical forms and demonstrate a hybridity of idiom that would make Charlie Parker and John Coltrane proud. So both of these writers explore how poetry is essential to writing the histories of our most complex past and presents. They also remind us of something else, as Cathy Park Hong writes in Dance, Dance, Revolution. Quote, revolutions happen all the time elsewhere, although we seem to think that revolutions exist in time capsules, end quote. Yes, revolutions are happening everywhere, and Hong and Baraka remind us through their deeply historically inflected poetry that those past revolutions shape our now and our here, and that they are also happening now and here before our eyes. Amiri Baraka is the author of dozens of works across just about every genre of literature. Cathy Park Hong is the author of Translating Moam, 2002, the award-winning Dance, Dance, Revelation, 2007, and Engine Empire, 2012, and her poetry has appeared in many of the great literary journals and magazines around the world. It's my pleasure to introduce these two poets. I think that Cathy is reading first.
Hi. I'm a little nervous. So I'm part of the reason why I'm a little nervous is I'm really honored to read with Mr. Amiri Baraka. I've actually been reading a lot of your poems recently for its courage and blistering music. So I'm thrilled to read with you. And I'm thrilled to read here for the Woodberry Poetry Series. So I thought I would begin by reading from Engine Empire, which is my latest book. And thank you for that introduction. That was a beautiful introduction. It's basically a triptych, and I like to pretend to be other people in my poems, and I like to pretend to be in other places. And a lot of my poems are sort of set in these invented cities. And this book is a triptych of 3 different invented boom towns. And the first one is set in the Old West, because I always wanted to be a cowboy when I was a kid. Not really. No. But anyway, it's set in the Old West. It's an old invented boom town in the Old West. The second section is set in an industrial boom town that it's based on present-day China. And the third section is set in the far future. So I'll just read a little bit of the first section, which is called Ballad of Our Jim. And I don't think I have the right voice for this. I feel like I have to have a voice like Clint Eastwood or something, so you're going to have to bear with me. Ballad of the Range. These are actually a sequence of ballads. I'll just read a few of them. Ballad of the Range. The whole country is in a duel, and we want no part of it. They see us ride, they say, all you men are going the wrong direction. We're getting to California. We ain't got time to enlist. If some fort's ready to be sawed to colt towns, others are abandoned since rickety-limbed Southies can let their grudges aside and mauled each other to bloodstops. All around us, forts lie built and unbuilt, half-walled towns as men yoke themselves to state, but we brothers are heading through fields of blue rye and plain, skull ground to silt sand, afar the boom towns of precious ore. Ballad of Fort Man. Come to a fort of ragged cedar posts rigged together by rodent sinews of prairie dogs. We holler and little boys peek from above, their faces seared by blast wind. Who you be, what you want, they shout thinly. Boys in rag and twined suspenders hold Winchesters much too big for them. They aim at us. Where are all your pops? They at war. We lost a brother, axed in the head by a rancid trapper, so we pluck one boy from the litter, lure him out with hen fruit and fresh violet marrow. We pounce him, christen him Jim. But our adapted boy's head done turned. All he does is sing, his throat a tender load of turned fruits, disturbing our herd, singing of malaria, his murderous lime-corroded maw. Ballad of Infanticide. Near starved, we find a fort of teetotalers who begrudge us their succor. While we eat up all their salt pork, our Jim sings for them in a strange high voice of an Injun-killing ranger who hitches up with his Comanche guide. She bears him a strapping son and is ramped with another when the ranger hives off with a fair-haired sheriff's daughter. He then banishes his squaw and his sons like their prairie beeves. But she won't go quietly. She poisons his new wife with a malarial dress, and that ain't the worst of her sins. That tar-eyed witch strangles her own newborn and the other son flees. The ladies cry, "Enough of this devil's song." Then it done occurs to us, looking at his dusky skin. Our Jim's a 2-bit half-breed. And then it goes on. Ballad in A. A Kansan plays cards, calls Marshall a crawdad. That barb lands that rascal a slap. That Kansan jackass scats, camps back at Caballada Ranch. Hangs cack, axe, and camp hat. Kansans nag mad and rants, can't bass, can't bacchanal and garland, alas, can't at last brag and crack law's balls. Kansans cantata rang at that Ramada Ranch. Mañana, Kansan snarls, I'll have an armada and thwart law's brawn, slam law a damn mass warpath. Marshall's a marksman, maps Kansan's track, calm as a shaman, sharp as a hawk, says that dastard Kansan's had, and gnaws fat back. At dawn, Marshall stalks that ranch, packs a gat, and blasts Kansan's ass. Kansan gasps, blasts back, a flag flaps, half-staff. That's what you call a lipogram form, which only uses one vowel. And this is another one of those. It's called ballad in O. Oh, Boomtown's got lots of sorter. Odd horrors of throwdowns. Bold cowboys lock horns. Forlorn hobos plot to rob pots of gold. Loco mobs drool for blood, howl or hoot for cottonwood blooms. Throng to hood crooks, to strong wood posts. So don't confront hot bloods, don't show off, go to blows or rows, don't sob for gold lost to trollops, don't drown sorrows on shots of grog. Work morn to moon, know how to comb bottom pools, spot dots of gold to spoon pots of gold, vow to do good. We're moving along to the second section, Chengdu, My Artful Boomtown. I'll just read a couple excerpts from a prose sequence that describes the shitty city. It's not shitty. It's really not a shitty. Maybe a little shitty. Adventures in Chengdu. Of the millennial promenade along the river. Vendors line the promenade to serve passers-by. They sell pinwheels, pancakes, and roast meats of all kinds, even sticks of prickly little seahorses. One female vendor keeps peeled apples under her armpit until they are saturated with her scent, and then she sells them so customers can luxuriate in both the scent of fruit and her ripeness. Along the promenade, the rabble is enraptured by the new tower across the river, but the vendors grumble of slow business. Officials installed cameras behind the vendors' umbrella fringes to catch conspirators. Today, there is no drama, so the vendors gossip. It is true that the fried prawn vendor tilted his surveillance camera so it caught nothing but the sun. Officials executed him after they watched the useless footage of a sun bobbing up and down for 100 days. Why did he do such a stupid thing? He was a saboteur, said one. We should all destroy the cameras. Everyone knows about them and it takes away business, said a third. It was for personal reasons. He was stupid in love, and his lover walked out on him and the vendors stopped short, for the cameras were recording. Of the old colonial Dutch quarters. When I imagine this city, it is not the city that I want, but the city that I fear. But I too have an obsession. He is one of the painters who works in the Rembrandt factory. He paints 5 Rembrandt self-portrait paintings a day, which I hear are sold to rich townhouses and hotels in a place called Florida. He is renowned as the fastest painter in Chengdu, and he has completed 10,000 Rembrandt self-portraits. In the mornings, I walk past him when he is on his smoke break. Today, I catch him sniffing his hand. I'll read a couple poems from The World Cloud, which is kind of like, imagine Google Glass 5.0, where you don't need the glasses anymore, and where the internet and the brain just fully merge into one, which should happen. Well, maybe it's already happening. I'll just read a couple poems from there. Engines Within the Throne. We once worked as clerks, scanning mothballed pages into the clouds. All memories outsourced, except the fuzzy childhood bits. When I was an undersized girl with a tic, they numbed me with Botox. I was a skin suit of dumb expression, just fingerprints over my shamed. All I wanted was snow, to snuff the sunblades to shadow spokes, muffle the drum of freeways, erase the old realism. But this smart snow erases nothing, seeps everywhere. The search engine is inside us. The world is our display. And now every industry has dumped whole cubicles, desktops, fax machines into developing worlds where they stack them as walls against. What disputed territory? We asked the old spy who drank with Russians to gather information the old-fashioned way. Now we have snow sensors, so you can go spelunking in anyone's mind. Let me borrow your child thoughts. It's benign surveillance. I can burrow inside, find a cave pool with rock-colored flounder, and find you, half transparent, with depression. A wreath of hummingbirds. I suffer a different kind of loneliness. From the antique ringtones of singing wrens, babbling babies, and ballad medleys, my ears have turned to brass. They resurrect 1,000 extinct birds, emus, dodos, and shelducks, though some, like the cerulean glaucous macaw, cannot survive the snow. How heavily they roost on trees in raw twilight. I will not admire those birds, not when my dull head throbs, and I am plagued by sorrow. A green hummingbird eats me alive with its stinging needle beak. Then I meet you. Our courtship is fierce and indiscreet in a prudish city that scorns our love as if the ancient laws of miscegenation are still in place. I am afraid I will infect you after a virus clogs the gift economy. Booming E-trade of flintlock guns sag. Status updates flip from we are all connected to we are exiles. What bullshit. When in that same prudish city, they have one exact word to describe the shades of their sorrow. When they always sit together and eat cold noodles during white days of rain, always in one long table, though not all. As a boy, my father used to trap little brown sparrows, bury them in hot coal, and slowly eat the charred birds alone. In the green fields, no sounds, no brothers in sight. Holiest are those who eat alone. Do not hurt them, do not push them, insult them, do not even stare at them. Leave them to eat alone in peace. So I'm going to read some poems from Dance Revolution, which is a video game, if you guys are not aware, but The video game is not in the book. I wrote one poem based on the video game, and it didn't end up being in the poem. So I just ended up stealing the title. And the book is sort of like a verse novel, and it's set in a resort town called the Desert. And you can imagine that it's sort of like Vegas or Dubai, where there are hotels that are modeled after capitals around the world. And the tour guide used to be a South Korean dissident. And she is a tour guide of the St. Petersburg Hotel. And she speaks in sort of in an invented kind of Creole or patois, which is, it's mostly different Englishes, and there's some Spanish in there, and a little bit of Latin, and so forth. So I'll read a few poems in her voice. Rolls. Opal, O opus. Behold, neon hibiscus bloom beacons. Tan lotion Tanya billboard. Sheer lucent Virgil, then eyes take over as talkie Virgil. Want some tea, some pelehu. Mine vocation, your vacation. I train mine talk box to talk yeppa, as the Americans say purdy. No goods, only phrases, better the phrase. Purdier, the experience. 20,000 guides here, but I'm number one. Once Helsinkian arrive, I say, I guide, but Helsinkian yap, no. Too many guides. Then I sleep outside, im door, im wake, I say calmly, I guide. The Helsinkians say, God damn it, yeah, okay, guide me. A million light bulbs in desert with cleanest latrines in our strobe-lit lobbies since desert non-sin. Each hotel, the Makazama, any city. Bangkok over here, Paris over there. I speak some Hangul Finnish, good bit of Latin, Spanish, some Toto Desert Creole, and ever-changing diptong, pendable on my mood. Ibid. Many American dumplings, unhinged them tacos, the ejaculate. Oh, hot diggity, this is a shit. But gut-ripping done to erect polis, we exploit gaggle of aborigine to back tundra country beneath. But better to scrape that fact under a history rug. So tempora, mores. I used to move around like Inuit looking for sea pelt. Now I'm a double migrant, seated from Korea, seated from America, seated till I seize him the sizable mouthpiece roll. Now, let's drive to interior. St. Petersburg Hotel Series 1 services. Sea radish turrets stuck with tumor lights around hotel like glass-blown Ruski castle sans pinko plight, only absolute vodka fountains, gaggle for drink. 100 ruble, cold cash only. Step up, you molest hammer, you chiclet studded in ruby, sapphire, almost bling bada bling. Question? No question, prick ear. Coroner diagnosed hotel as king of hotels because luxury is everything. Here, sound speakers sing, I get laid in me Escalade, but a first sip glass of Cristal, then I whip out me pistol. Non-worry, no pistol in hotel, only best surgeon fishy beluga bedtime special. Delicious. But before you tuck in king of waterbed, before you watch pay-per-view, be peripatetic and behold snowbears marry in a ball, or go be roused by molten sauna where babushkas bap your tush with boar bristles switch. No chillins allowed here. Blood rust has been Windexed to amber shine, insurrectors marauding soul wedded into paper machetes, looted radio back in turtle dove municipal hands. Here, city of evening calm, Ignace Reiler's gone. If you want true history, go watch Taylor E. Millner make magic. They're more revolutionary than artist. If you dream for Paris, Paris Hotel right outside atrium, beyond sand dunes which form and disappear like machinations of human digestion. Sand swirl to other world land where blankets await a human body's tatta e pill. No tatting, no pilling here. Sand will be in your eye, only sometime. Karaoke lounge. Impish peeper, you eardropping. When I ululate till mine face a grapey pulp, croaking K-pop in this privacy room. Me bumming see shoe, ka, tour is over, scug, shoe. Non, no, stay. Some sing swallow nightingales, phlegm. Some sing swallow nightingale in agora. But we closet singers in a box, a mic. A grog-sodden salary man sing, oh Lord, no harem, just me felf he keens, till he lurch into a mic with no invocatory might. Him lung raisined like him balls, he sleeping, dreaming or tongier, or tigers in red weather. We sing solo, tone deaf, gargle a bobble, it pops dead o' night, anon Sinatra canon, ask a ballad bloom in room, then buzzers stop. So you want to hear my story, bout mine domus, bout Sha. Mine mother, rest her soul, sang for all. Lung, a fireplace breather, bronchial tree aflame, till she spit a blood wad, she sang pansori, one beat drum, a kobel. Epic song lasting 2, 3, 4 day. Sponge up the han, 슬픈 얘기, 사랑한 남편, with only a fan, a jug, to wet her throat. Song that breaks the world record. I was born on first day of unrest. Huzzah, the students who fight in police boy patos. In gangrene smoke, young'uns strew butane cola chanted for old Pentanka Reed to step down. He did. Chased out on a perma holiday. Hawaii, him, Elba. Fizzy ale spill in streets, Korea celebrating no money for balloon swine. E-ticket tape parade, but Koreans have unabashed national succotash. Whole country batty drunk, aroused like H.E.V. man. All but mine mother. Allure, drunk medicine switched out clinics to celebrate, so she all him sheself, alone in hospital, yowl him from labor, but expert she is, bore 10 chillins, whom all die before reaching age 1, her heart, a grave, a infant's, me tragic mum. Breathe, she pansori's breath, he pop me out. Me yeller father hid home, hiding from froth of birth's labor, he labor a revolution. I's boomerang out, slipshod onto blood tile floor, a squall and bile newborn. So happy she raps songs on the voice after I's born. See, she voice so famous, a fable, a myths. Even now, Sam's age, you can buy her CD in the World Muzak section. No Polymulank. She sings song, longest song ever. Singing, rasping Rouse pain, mind the gap, by the way, hawking, coughing with one beat till husking one note, concobel, she like a bayou whaler. In stubble field etched by winter's acid light, she retched her note, e specter's wall a sound, chilled a tympanum, all the saram who pause, listen, e cry, for being a cursed Korean. Singing while carrying me bundle home, till I's a week old, before she collapsed to she death, she hum her last notes. A martyr spun nettle out of a silk-sorn dress, a lice-lace boot to my heart. In Angyong, I rest. I'm going to end with 2 short poems. Dance hall song for when you're in the mood. She a swift fire cap bristling she fire. She a clean rifle in bomba red car. She a give me agony hind a meat shed. She nuzzle me piz, I nick her bat. She a illy whacker, she wipe me cash. She a kingpin, she sing order of the keys. She a keen song, summer sounds sea. It's supposed to be dirty. And this is the last poem. It's an ode to interracial love. Toast in the grove of Toast in the grove of proposals. It's better. Lo, brandied man in rabbinical cape, dab rosy musk in goy's gossamy nape, Ibrasi Brahmin, papoosed in sari's saffron sheet, swoon, bind fair waspian in him wingtip feet. Let's toast to bountiful gene pool, to intramarry couple breeding beige population. Lo, union o husky Ontarian, teacup-sized Tibetan, wreath in honeysuckle, dew-studded bracken. Lo, union o Cameroon groom, kissing Gala Gammon's cheek and miscegenating a more them seem to reek. Let's toast to bountiful gene pool, to intramarry couple breeding beige population. Clap away, great chorus, a gay sashame crowd. Clap away, chatty flackman, prenup hackman. Bind forth ruby-lined pachyderms who trundle here proud. Bind forth mothers who nag for proposal enactment. Let's toast to bountiful gene pool, to intramarry couple breeding beige population. Thank you.
But I read some that are recent and some that I read all the time. This first one is very recent, as you can tell by the references. It's called, no, that ain't it. I don't know how that got in there. Oh, it's called The Original Terrorists. The original terrorists have been here a long time. The ones who took the slaves, the ones who ran and underbossed the plantations, especially those who made money from them. They're still at it. They never stopped. These old guard terrorists, and they're still at it, still terrorizing. When slavery was supposed to be ended, they thought up the Klan, the Knights of the White Camellia. When we were supposed to get reparations, they got Andrew Johnson, a barefoot white man, to stop it. Every time we take a step, these terrorists appear. They ain't never gone nowhere, but you take a step forwards, they come out. King spoke, I have a dream, and we paid for it with 4 little girls blown up in Birmingham. Before that, we won the bus boycott. The terrorists blew up Dr. King's house. The real terrorists, been with us hundreds of years. Du Bois called it the Sisyphus syndrome. You push the rock up the mountain, the terrorists appear and try to roll it back down. Now Obama get in, defeating Cain's son, same one as in the Bible. Live in Arizona where they shot that congresswoman in the head. Now they want to ban Latino studies. Then these is the same terrorists, still terrorizing. That's Goldwater State, famously backward, a terrorist. McCain turned tail in Vietnam. He came back a hero terrorist just the same. We get clear enough to elect Obama, the terrorists take off their Klan clothes, put on some suits. They, the Tea Party now, TEA, the evil assholes. They terrorists and Nazis like always. They do anything to stop America's getting rid of its craziness. America's getting rid of its craziness. They never let us all be Americans. They terrorists. And Republicans, they even got Negroes, real public coons. They terrorists too, like Tom S. Clarence and his evil wife, Citizens United, they terrorists. Hurt us worse than the Taliban, GOP, grand old psychopaths. What Al-Qaeda can do, the Republicans can. Been doing it, one costume another, for hundreds of years. Now they so frustrated, their racist addiction coming down on them, Boehner's nose running. Got new maniacs to please, old Jones coming down. Ted Cruz, a Texas junkie, had a crying jag in Congress. Or the other nut, Ryan, trying to stop you from sending your kids to college. He's a real mullah, for sure. Terrorists took over Congress. Listen to them, absolute nuts. What Taliban can do, they are doing. Close down the United States government. Now, who would do that? Think about it. What the Taliban and Al-Qaeda can do, terrorists in the Congress lock down the government because that black dude there, just like they would in the 19th century when a blood wanted to vote. Obamacare, they scream, Obamacare, when they've been getting Obamacare all over Europe since World War II. We facing the sickness and destruction of terrorists, been terrorizing all of us for hundreds of years. Terrorists. When we gonna catch them and lock them up, these terrorists? Catch them and lock them up. Then we can cure ourselves, America, of what has always ailed us. The Swahili word for Holocaust is mafa. So if you ask us how it's been for blacks in America, we say it's been a mafa. Didn't know we could speak Swahili. Revelations, the worst criminals are completely legal. They have laws saying they can steal. The worst murderers are completely legal. They have laws saying it's perfectly cool for them to kill. Why is this? Because this is hell. Haven't you guessed? The real question is not how to keep from going to hell. The real question is how to get out. I was thinking about thinking, then Mao Zedong, then our own actual lives, where they come from. Oh, is the exclamation. The crimson line in the wherever, you never seen it, it don't matter. The advertisement for where your information stopped. How you go through all that and still have the Cultural Revolution to hook up and go through. Then have some silly MFs find fault in that. And even in your raising helpless China to mighty China, you could be actual Jesus fucking Christ. And there'd be some dudes who want to murder you. When I was a kid in Newark, New Jersey, this might sound weird, but when I was a kid in Newark, New Jersey, I used to read Chinese and Japanese poetry. And I came upon something called a haiku. So I created something for Afro-Americans called a loku. We don't have time to count the syllables, it's just short. Bum, 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 bum. That's from Bud Powell's Un Poco Loco. Bum, 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 bum. They asked him the difference between insane and outsane. He said, you know the difference, that's why you're asking. 2 days later, they came back, he had left a note, it said the same thing. That's when his picture went up in the post office. The caption read, wanted, for any reason you could think of. This meant they really did understand. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, bum, bum. Question with no air. Why are they so crazy? 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 Why? Bum, 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 bum. The pet's reward. On Miss Daisy's deathbed, she told Morgan Freeman he was her best friend. So what about the dog? Dun 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 dun. Silent night. Whenever the devil is disguised as God, he is called Santa Claus. Bum 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 bum. Fanon. The cruelest thing the Nazis did, and the most grim, was to turn some of their victims and to them. Bum, ba, bum, ba, bum, ba. Was it ever so quiet the room began to ask you questions? Bum, ba, bum, ba, bum, 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 ba. Adventures in Negrosity. A Negro tried to cash himself for money at a bank. He got arrested as a counterfeit nickel. Bum, ba, bum, ba, bum, 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 bum. Culture. European Jews say the devil speaks perfect German. Black Americans, on the other hand, say he speaks pretty good English, too. Dun, 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 dun. Locomotive. The devil said he left heaven because there was too many niggas. That's why he started Europe. Dun, 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 dun. Geobolical. According to the devil, when he was first thrown out of heaven, he landed in England. I believe him. Dun, 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 dun. Heaven appeared with property. God with slavery. Bum, ba, bum, ba, bum, 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 ba, bum. Before fortune was money. Finally, everything points to the people and things we understand. Understanding is a point of view. If you look what looks down from that point, if it is the sun, okay. If you see it, bitter. If you don't, okay. But for instance, and there you go across the sea to be with the devil. The preparation for pain is minimal. For joy, a lifetime. The preparation for pain is minimal. For joy, a lifetime. Is that fair, we ask? Is that fair? You mean a fee, a circus, or white people? Bum, 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 bum. Loku, craziness is no act. Not to act is craziness. The return of Lon Chaney. If you see a Negro with a white ring around his mouth, Gubadas will not help. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Achtung! The American word for Nazi is American. Dun, 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 dun. Catch 27. The real problem is you don't know the real problem. Bum, 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 bum. Class gas for those who knows. Since the rich eat more than anybody else, it is reasonable to assume that they are more full of shit. Dun 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 dun. In the funk world, if Elvis Presley is king, who is James Brown? God? Dun 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 dun. So much for un poco loco. I've got a couple more poems I want to read, and I have to decide. Oh, this is another loku. I just didn't include it. Religious note. Only heathens would call the Friday before Easter God good. Bum, 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 bum. It's getting less and less safe out here. Bum, 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 bum. That's Tintindale by Dizzy Gillespie. I played that when I was 13 years old. It's getting less and less safe out here. The world is less safe without Hugo Chavez. Imagine not. Really is ill enough. Reality is ill enough. The world is less safe without the poets Jane Cortez, or Luis Reyes Rivera, or Sekou Sundiata. Much less safe without Arafat or Rabin. A much more dangerous place we in, with mouths closed by death, assassination. With Chavez, we wonder, is it the planet's imperialist police that killed him? Like Arafat, some secret ugly shit? Like, you know, they got, with Malcolm and Dr. King, the crazy white folks were screaming so loud they should die. There was even some Negro zombie preacher in Chicago, boy, joined with them at the hip, who screamed and hollered and wallowed on the sidewalks. They wanted to run Dr. King's street in front of his dope dispensing Southside joint. But Chavez, I swear I think they killed him. Some kind of death ray white poison like they slipped Arafat. With Cabral and Biko, the animal sounds of the racists allowed them to shoot straight out. They could take off Touré with to go on to Europe for medical treatment, but Chavez, I know they killed. Ditto Arafat. Imagine Rabin being stalked by a right-wing Israeli nut. A patriot, Lieberman or Netanyahu might say, imagine that. Imagine that the cries for money and a new edition of white supremacy canceled that opposition. They tried to get Fidel for so many years, but Fidel, being Fidel, walked through that flail with the will of an organized people, and they failed. But Chavez, we gotta know, imperialist death science is my feeling. Imperialist death science is my feeling. They're always either killing or stealing. If you think some of this poetry is political, you're probably right. Ethnically altered film quote. Ethnically altered film quote. If you can set up a meeting with Tyler Perry and Oprah Winfrey at an old colored restaurant in Harlem, I'll kill them both. Somebody call a doctor. People don't understand, maybe they overstand, it puzzles them. Why do children be trying to kill whole cities at once? But they take after them, their parents. They know the old people be killing whole cities at once and they want to be just like them. The kids just don't understand they're supposed to be doing that in them colored countries. Palestine, Afghanistan, Libya, Iraq, Mali. They ain't supposed to be doing that kind of stuff in Colorado or Connecticut. That's sick. Somebody call a doctor. And let me see. I want to read two more poems. One is a poem that, I was the poet laureate of New Jersey for about 20 minutes. And I wrote this poem called Somebody Blew Up America, which I will read certainly at the end. But have you noticed that as soon as the Republicans took their Klan robes off and went into their civilian clothes, their House of Representative Tea Party camouflage outfits, there's been a huge deluge of vampire films? So what does this mean? It means you need to get a supply of wooden stakes, spare crosses, and silver bullets as soon as possible, because in a few minutes it's going to get really funky out here. So this is a poem that I wrote after they canceled on my being the poet laureate. That was very funny. I'll tell you that story in a minute. But this is the afterword, and it's music called Lonnie's Lament by John Coltrane. Dee 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 dee. The poem is called Fashionist from the Irony of the World. Dee 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 dee. Da 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 da. Fashionist from the irony of the world, that I, the undaunted laureate of the place, daunted in some unasserted pretense of what they see, they be as if such were they was yet to be, then to say they is and is not, like revelations, wow, humans. The skin, the lodging inside dumbness. A slight breeze frees their speech, to speak as if acquainted with small things in the world, eating, belching, farting, murder, robbery, and so. As if in them too they is, but nothing further but the wee dots on the deletion resembling the minds of them yet to come. Imagine you were me, or imagine you were thee, and we knew both all the things we do, and is, and will ourselves to be. Imagine you were in this place and they wanted to run everywhere, pointless, endless, understanding not even why they smell or their hair fall out or what to do about gout, that they're yet stupid to colds and cancer and death. They think holy and ultimate when death is simply a report card of the ignorant. Nothing dies but that which never lived. And it might return in a white suit and in charge of ugly small mistakes. Somebody at Harvard could win $1 billion in a post if they could find out, but they never will because it's the reason they committed suicide. Suppose you had to live with ignorant white people and Negroes in cages with important chains around their mouths. Suppose you had heard of Trent Lott. Suppose you woke up 1 a.m. and there was a vampire on the tube being interviewed by Niggalino Boob, a handsome rat for whom the idea of brain was only an idea, which he did not think if he could was a bad one. And the boob was a killer yet to graduate from killer school. So he worshipped the vampire's teeth, the 2 juicy fangs hanging from each end of his lip the Negro thought was hip, and dreamed of having teeth like that so he could be a rat. He was tired of being a mere heel. And the vampire was planning to bite the whole world, to suck the blood out of everything, to suck the blood out of the world and make his future a vampire that could wheel through space and suck the blood out of the stars, suck the blood out of that planet, suck the blood out of the moon, suck the blood of the sun, and then armed and blubbery fat with everything's blood, still hot and musical like emptiness, he could lift into the outer way gonosphere and search for God, if there was such, and suck the blood out of him, her, it, them, whatever, till there was no blood anywhere, not even new blood. In fact, you'd be the one of the first to go. It was a special issue of Jungle Comics where the vampire, the thin-nosed kind from the outback who can suck with his teeth and stir with his nose, whose eyes are missing, and what you see is the bottom of a coal mine filled with 2,000 fathoms of lynch, execution, missing, raped, cheated, framed, slandered, stolen, frowned, frozen ex-corpuscles, hid under the glistening, listening underwater ass-craft of the satanic moron cult, whose breath is toxic and pokes holes in the sky so dead things can shit on our food. He is called Fangul, the asshole, and dances to dry lips set on fire by missing junkies he has eaten. He is the devil's newspaper and wears his ass backwards so the Holen can wear a uniform. And revelations can be burned, especially 1812, where it say, beware of ugly motherfuckers who is not really ugly motherfuckers, but uglier, much, 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 much more uglier than that. So spake Nat. Amen. I speak with the rage of angels, them that be with marks. I speak with the clarity and inferno of the necessary, like my man John on Patmos watching Sky Vision and digging it was all commercials. I speak like Ali Baba, the Arabian Pope, who when he spoke the magic words, open the sucker up, and the mountains swang, envisioned one day there would be a John named Train who would blow the same shit. I blow with the deep fear of John on the island looking at the actual devil. I am like him in that I try to find out, count the mammy jammers' heads and horns, and find out what will kill him. I speak like him who spoke to Philadelphia and hung out with Jesus before they murdered him. I speak like him who dug that Peter was a coward and gave the Lord up, and that Paul was an anti-Semite who never came out of the closet. I speak as one who knew Judas would drop a dime on the movement and confirmed that Trump had hung his lousy self just before I got busted. I speak as one betrayed by the lies of those who say they are religious, but are greed-ridden worshipers of Satan who kill anyone who opposes them and calls it a church of defense against evil. Like John, I would speak. Like John who baptized, like John the Knower, John the Blower, John the Brown, John the Revelator. I speak like James the Brother, James the Other, Jim the Hip, like Dick the Rude, like Bird the High, like Monk the Deep. I speak from the island of my soul and cast a terrified look into the sky filled with monsters, with witches and devils, with great horrors and beasts, of things with heads and horns and blood dripping out of their eyes. It is out. Imagine you were here in this place, staring into the soul of something filthy, trying to keep it from murdering you, to keep your eyes from registering, your ears from hearing, your mouth from reporting, and you could feel it breathing on your neck and saw sometimes the shadow of its horny hands reaching out of the blind dark. You could see the shadow of its gun, its lie, its teeth sweating. Imagine you could actually understand its obscene ideas. And they made you enter the mind of Fred Douglass and stare out at the ocean, just as John at the edge of Africa, staring at the overhead commercials on the death of the beast. And so this blessing that is in my name and in my words I give to myself, and you who are truthful as the actual life of the world. And it is this blessing which will save us, will make us strong as we go on with our work of scientifically determining how to kill the beast. Each night I fill my notebooks with formula and instructions to myself and others on what to do, what to study, where to go, who to talk to, and when. I make lists of words and names and events and processes, necessary stages of what we have come to realize is protracted, and what we do, we will do. And what we succeed at is worth the pain. What we fail at is worth the understanding, if we can understand what the next step is. We are studying with all our minds and hearts and soul's determination to understand how to slay the serpent. This task Nat handed down to whoever did understand, is that's what he did, hanging on that tree, slain by the serpent's host. So we have learned that we cannot die except by our own submission to it, and decided we will not die except when we understand what place we go to. And so begin to set that where in order and begin to understand where the beast will be hiding. There we are, the rider of the black horse, black rider, who conquers with a scale, with justice and measure, and the mighty pentatonic mode of the finite music of infinity, a new joint. And when I returned from this forwarding of my feeling and knowing, the beast sat still, and his teeth wiggled with lies. And at once I remembered where before I'd seen him, before his tenure as the counterfeit ghost in the Caucasian crib. This was the same one. Remember the little devil that Gerald 2X arrested and placed in the pages of Muhammad Speaks? And we saw him where Malcolm had locked him up with the little horns on his head, evil eyes, and the twin fanged straws for sucking oil and blood. It got clear to me as he rose to leave, and the Negro boob slobbered happiness at being recognized as the newest commode in the Caucasian abode. The vampire turned, and where before the cunning little tail used to dangle out his hiney, struck me at its absence. Oh, I thought. And at that moment I saw the thing dart like a copperhead's fart out of the Negro's curled lips, ring with the white chalk Caucasian circle of merit which identifies wooden Negroes, promoted to the honorary genus of Homo locus subsidiary, literally mere man, who no longer kneel when they are made well-paid heels, but now can assume the funky bedbug crouch of the hideously self-hating. At the same time, they are given a gray facsimile carte blanche weapon of ugliness to use against inwards and any who would violate the sanctity of Northern Appalachia. And so I came to understand that the beast's deadly arrow, shot from out the first horseman's white bow from the white horse, the weapon which Revelations prophesied to John was the weapon of his transitory rule, was now the tongue of the boob, whom I err at calling him that, or rat, or heel, or dog, or traitor. That tail become a tongue was the sign that from the vampire's tail was bestowed on the wooden Negro a badge that allowed him to enter Klan meetings and skinhead lynchings and Texas executions and Palestinian ethnic cleansings and report with the slobber of his terrifications, a white-ringed serpent's beak, symbol, font, and punctuation. On the tabula rasa of the media sheet, the empty echo of his self, his eviscerated self. And in the soul's place, that beast's tail was hung, that beast's tail was sung. And I stood, remembering Patmos and the images that sailed across the air when you and I was there, and wondered what next the world of this life held for those who would love goodness. For those who would love goodness. Be-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. And I want to read one last poem if I can find it. It's here. That one. Oh. I was, like I said, I was the Poet Laureate of New Jersey for about 20 seconds. And, anyway, I wrote this poem. Somebody blew up America. I sent it around all over the world on the net. I got some comments, mostly good comments, a couple of the bad ones, but I wrote this about 1 month after 9/11 because I never believed in 9/11. I thought that was a lot of jive. I still do believe it. You can't fly over the United States. Try to fly over the United States. So I read this poem at the Dodge Poetry Festival to about 1,000 people. The next day, the governor's office called me and told me, "You must apologize and resign as the poet laureate." I said, "No, I'm not going to do that." So then they had this, long kind of torture in the media. I was called everything. But the interesting thing about America is when I came home, it was on the front page. The whole poem was on the front page of the Star-Ledger. That's probably the most poetic they ever got. And when I came home, people were applauding in the streets. Show you the difference between America. People in my hometown thought it was great, But anyway, I didn't resign. They just ended the poet laureate. New Jersey has no poet laureate. They've declared themselves officially ignorant. But interestingly, the governor had to resign a year later for having a homosexual affair with somebody in his office. But I thought if he's gay, he just should have said that, I'm gay, I'm the governor, now what? But he's got a job now in a seminary. I won't comment on that. Dum, 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 dum. That's still only a monk. What is that called? Well, I'll think of it. Boom, 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 boom. Mysterioso. Boom, 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 boom. All thinking people oppose terrorism, both domestic and international, but one should not be used to cover the other. Somebody blew up America. They say it's some terrorist, some barbaric Arab in Afghanistan. It wasn't our American terrorists. It wasn't the Klan or the skinheads or the them that blows up nigger churches or reincarnates us on death row. It wasn't Trent Lott or David Duke or Giuliani or Schumler. Helms retiring. No, Helms dead. It wasn't the gonorrhea in costume, the white sheet diseases that have murdered black people, terrorized reason and sanity, most of humanity as they pleases. They say, who say? Who do the saying? Who is them paying? Who tell the lies? Who in disguise? Who had the slaves? Who got the bucks out the bucks? Who got fat from plantations? Who genocided Indians, tried to waste the black nation? Who live on Wall Street, the first plantation? Who cut your nuts off? Who raped your ma? Who lynched your pa? Who got the tar? Who got the feathers? Who had the match? Who set the fire? Who killed and hired? Who say they God and still be the devil? Who the biggest only? Who the most goodest? Who do Jesus resemble? Who created everything? Who the smartest? Who the greatest? Who the richest? Who say you ugly and they the good lookingness? Who defined art? Who defined science? Who made the bombs? Who made the guns? Who bought the slaves? Who sold them? Who call you them names? Who say Dahmer wasn't insane? Who? Who stole Puerto Rico? Who stole the Indies, the Philippines, Manhattan, Australia, and the Hebrides? Who forced opium on the Chinese? Who owned the buildings? Who got the money? Who think you funny? Who lock you up? Who owned the papers? Who owned the slave ship? Who run the army? Who the fake president? Who the ruler? Who the banker? Who? Who owned the mine? Who twists your mind? Who got bread? Who need peace? Who you think need war? Who owned the oil? Who do no toil? Who owned the soil? Who is not a nigger? Who is so great ain't nobody bigger? Who owned the city? Who own the air? Who own the water? Who own your crib? Who rob and steal and cheat and murder, make lies the truth? Who call you uncouth? Who live in the biggest house? Who do the biggest crime? Who go on vacation anytime? Who kill the most niggers? Who kill the most Jews? Who kill the most Italians? Who kill the most Irish? Who kill the most Africans? Who kill the most Japanese? Who kill the most Latinos? Who? Who own the ocean? Who own the airplanes? Who own the malls? Who own television? Who own radio? Who own what ain't even known to be owned? Who own the owners that ain't the real owners? Who own the suburbs? Who suck the cities? Who make the laws? Who made Bush president? Who believe the Confederate flag need to be flying? Who talk about democracy and be lying? Who? Who the beast in Revelations? Who's 666? Who decide Jesus get crucified? Who the devil on the real side? Who got rich from Armenian genocide? Who the biggest terrorists? Who changed the Bible? Who kill the most people? Who do the most evil? Who don't worry about survival? Who have the colonies? Who stole the most land? Who rule the world? Who say they good but only do evil? Who the biggest executioner? Who own the oil? Who want more oil? Who told you what you think that lady you find at a lie? Who found Bin Laden? Maybe they Satan. Who paid the CIA? Who knew the bomb was going to blow? Who know where the terrorists? Who know why the terrorists learned to fly in Florida and San Diego? Who know why 5 Israelis was filming the explosion and cracking their sides at the notion? Who need fossil fuel? The sun ain't going nowhere. Who make the credit cards? Who get the biggest tax cut? Who walked out of the conference against racism? Who killed Malcolm, Kennedy and his brother? Who killed Dr. King? Who would want such a thing? Are they linked to the murder of Lincoln? Who invaded Grenada? Who made money from apartheid? Who keep the Irish a colony? Who overthrew Chile and Nicaragua later? Who killed David Sebeco, Chris Hani, the same ones who killed Biko, Cabral, Neruda, Allende, Che Guevara, Sandino? Who killed Kabila, the ones who wasted Lumumba, Mun Lane, Betty Shabazz, Princess Di, Ralph Featherstone, Little Bobby, locked up Mandela, Deruba, Geronimo, Asada, Mumia, Garvey, Dashiell Hammett, Alphaeus Houghton? Who killed Huey Newton, Fred Hampton, Medgar Evers, Mikey Smith, Walter Rodney? Was it the ones who tried to poison Fidel? Who tried to keep the Vietnamese oppressed? Who put a price on Lenin's head? Who put the Jews in ovens? And who helped them do it? Who said America first and okayed the yellow stars? Who killed Rosa Luxemburg, Liebknecht? Who murdered the Rosenbergs? And all the good people iced, tortured, assassinated, vanished? Who got rich from Algeria, Libya, Haiti, Iran, Iraq, Saudi, Kuwait, Lebanon, Syria, Egypt, Jordan, Palestine? Who cut off people's hands in the Congo? Who invented AIDS? Who put the germs in the Indians' blanket? Who thought up the Trail of Tears? Who blew up the Maine and started the Spanish-American War? Who got Sharon back in power? Who backed Batista, Hitler, Bilbo, Chiang Kai-shek? Who decided affirmative action had to go? Reconstruction, the New Deal, the New Frontier, the Great Society. Who do Tom S. Clarence work for? Who do come out the colon's mouth? Who know what kind of skeezer is a Condoleezza? Who paid Connolly to be a wooden Negro? Who give genius awards to Homo locus subsidiary? Who overthrew Nkrumah, Bishop? Who poisoned Robeson? Who tried to put Du Bois in jail? Who framed Rap Brown, Jamil Al-Amin? Who framed the Rosenbergs, Garvey, the Scottsboro Boys, the Hollywood 10? Who set the Reichstag fire? Who knew the World Trade Center was going to get bombed? Who told 4,000 Israeli workers at the Twin Towers to stay home that day? Why did Sharon stay away? Who? Explosion of Owl, the newspapers say the devil's face could be seen. Who make money from war? Who make dough from fear and lies? Who want the world like it is? Who want the world to be ruled by imperialism and national oppression and terror, violence and hunger and poverty? Who is the ruler of hell? Who is the most powerful? Who you know ever seen God? But everybody's seen the devil. like an owl exploding in your life, in your brain, in yourself, like an owl who know the devil all night, all day. If you listen like an owl exploding in fire, we hear the questions rise in terrible flame, like the whistle of a crazy dog, like the acid vomit of the fire of hell. Who? And who? And who? And who? And who? And who? 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 Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.